And I'm Brittany, and today we wanted to talk to you about Activate Chi and how we created Activate Chi and kind of why, and then going more in depth about Chinese medicine and how we compare to other companies, and just a little bit about ourselves. So Rachel can kind of start with kind of how or why we created. How did we come about Activate Chi? What was happening?
Yeah, so a little bit about our stories, I guess, in the background, like the years leading up to us starting Activate Chi is, for my personal experience, I had actually one specific scenario where I had a horse that was in liver failure that was recommended that I euthanize. His blood work was off the charts, and I was not accepting of that outcome at that time. So I had found someone who was really experienced in Chinese medicine, overnighted me some ingredients, and I kind of threw a Hail Mary at this horse. That was really changed everything for me and my perspective on medicine, healing, everything from that moment. That horse ended up turning completely around, lived for several more years, and it really just spiraled from there. I mean, I personally had several scenarios where I fell back to Chinese medicine because I was in a lot of, I guess, emergency type situations. A lot of stays at our university here in Minnesota. So it really just, I kept being pushed back to it because myself, I'm such a digger, and I just felt like I wasn't getting, there's a place for Western medicine, and then I felt like there was also things that I was leaving out or that weren't being addressed. So it was kind of the same. I guess Brittany can elaborate a little bit more on hers, but it just came down to me constantly digging, being a little bit relentless in my horses. So
yeah, and we were both just struggling a lot at the time. We lived at the university together and had a lot of emergency cases, and one of my major cases I talk a lot about. He's a huge reason of why I wanted to get to the root cause, and I wasn't accepting the answers that I was being given, not having a proper solution, and just kept digging. So I was giving every product on the market that you could think of to this horse. He had very severe gut issues. He had colic and been hospitalized so many times, and we were just not happy with the results that we were seeing with either of our horses, and wanting to know why. Why are these things not working? And at the time, Rachel and I had both actually been getting acupuncture for ourselves and started taking Chinese herbs, learning about Eastern medicine and how they approach everything with health and illness, and it just really makes sense. So we were just like, wow, we want to bring this to the horse community, and it really started working for us, and this is where we really started seeing results.
Yeah, it was one of the major things was, like Brittany had said, where we were treating ourselves one way, but then we're falling back on more Western suggestions for healing or medicine on our horses, and we were not getting anywhere. It's like you hit that brick wall, and I know a lot of people do, and we were just dig, and there's just an entirely different perspective when you're looking at things through the lens, I guess, of traditional Chinese medicine that, may be a little overwhelming when you first look at it, but when it kind of gets broken down, you're looking at it as this kind of whole picture, it makes so much more sense. And I know for both of us in our own personal just health or things that we were maybe struggling with for us personally, it was like, wow, we noticed changes with us, and then immediately kicked into action with our horses. And I mean, it was something where it was so evident, I think, of what we were dealing with, that these changes that we were making was working, that it just snowballed from there, and we were like, wow, this is really being missed in the horse industry, or it's not talked about enough. Just people aren't aware of it. It really is what it comes down to, and it was we knew kind of from that moment, like, this is going to be a major thing for people to be able to use on their horses, and we're definitely not the only ones. If you own a horse here.
Yeah. And Chinese medicine has been around for thousands of years, and there's a reason that it's still around, because it still works.
Yeah, and you know, we look at things in, I guess, from the United States. I think we look at it, or are taught to look at it from one way, but we don't realize that these other countries and, you know, have been doing things a certain way for so long, and a lot of it we just don't even know about. Like, I mean, that's for us when we got down rabbit holes of whether it was soft tissue injuries, neurologic stuff, gut stuff. It was the amount of things that you learn, and it just is mind-blowing once you get down those rabbit holes.
So that's why we wanted to bring it to the horse community and dogs, and really just break it down for everyone of why. Ask why everything isn't working, or asking why you're seeing the symptoms that you're seeing. So I think that's just what we want to dig into today on talking about and explaining to you guys, getting educated about organ imbalance and Eastern medicine.
And just even other, you know, how we're different and why, you know, some products, why you may or may not be seeing results, and it comes down to traditional Chinese medicine. They're always looking for the root cause. There is always a reason. We do not treat symptoms, we find the root cause. And that changes everything, because when you get to that, you're not sitting here trying to find the next product that works, the next product that works that's gonna help you kind of like band-aid over these symptoms that you're seeing. Your symptoms that you're seeing really are just, it's something else wrong with the body, whatever that may be, and it's manifesting as the symptoms. The symptom is not your problem, and that's what we learn in health, you know, and really in Western medicine, is constantly trying to treat the symptom and figure out how we can basically not see it anymore. But that is why so many of us just experience these reoccurring issues or can't get them to resolve. So part of what we wanted to do in our discussion is familiarize everyone a little bit more with traditional Chinese medicine, as well as some of the terms that you're going to hear us use when we're talking about different issues that you might be dealing with, or explaining our formulas. So a lot of people think that traditional Chinese medicine is like this new thing that, you know, no one's ever heard of. They're very wishy-washy about it sometimes, but it's actually the opposite. It's one of the oldest forms of medicine there is. It's thousands of years old. It's just very different than Western medicine. So that's kind of what we wanted to start by explaining. In traditional Chinese medicine, the theory is that each organ plays a role in the body. So when these organs become out of balance, that's when you're going to start seeing different issues manifest. Whereas in Western medicine, we're seeing the symptoms in front of us and we're treating those. That's where these two, the Eastern versus Western, are just complete opposites. Whereas, you know, in the Western, when we're trying to treat a symptom, that's where a lot of that frustration comes in, is we may get symptoms to dissolve, and it's, you know, it's when we see them sort of dissolve for maybe a short period, it's like, oh, this issue keeps coming back, or, you know, you kind of keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and it's not working. So that's because in traditional Chinese medicine, you're getting to the root cause. So getting to the root cause alleviates those symptoms. We're not addressing necessarily the symptoms.
So an example that we can give you guys is the kidneys. And the kidneys govern bone growth and development, fluids of the body. And so when you're seeing some of these symptoms of arthritis, fertility issues, hormone imbalance, the first thing that we're going to address is the kidneys. In order to help educate everyone a little bit more on traditional Chinese medicine, we want to explain some of the terms that you're going to hear us use. So whether we're talking to you about an illness or a health concern that you may have with your horse or dog, or we're explaining our formulas, you're going to hear terms like qi, yin, yang, wind, heat, dampness. So starting with qi, which is going to be
Probably the main one, activate chi. So that's going to be our our vital force. So energy.
Yeah, so this vital force is like a life force energy, and it cannot be seen but felt. So an example would be like when you have a knot in your stomach, you're feeling anxious, you have this energy that's balled up in your stomach. So the energy runs along the lines of meridians through your body. So if this causes stagnation, and it's okay for a short period of time, but after a long period of time, this is going to start to cause certain illnesses will arise.
Yep. So when we talk about things being out of balance or there being stagnation, so to that example, when if it's something like anxiety and that stays stagnant for too long, then from there is when you're going to see different types of health concerns start to manifest.
So one of the other terms is tonify, and we use that a lot when we talk about wanting to bring balance to the organs.
Another term that you're going to hear us use is wei qi. So wei qi is going to be your defensive energy. So if there's a threat to the body, something that, like let's say, enters the body, your wei qi is going to be your defense mechanism to help your immune system fight it off.
And other terms that we use are dampness, wind, or heat. And dampness or heat are from the external world, and they enter through your body, and that is what creates illness. The other thing that you can see is wind, and that pairs really well with the wei qi, because when wind carries outside pathogens like pollen or viruses, they enter through your body. And your lungs are the first to come in contact with this, and if you're wei qi, your lungs are your immune system. So if this is weak, you're gonna start to see symptoms like allergies, or you can get colds picking up those viruses and outside pathogens.
Yeah, so it carries back over to what she was saying, where that if your defensive chi or your wei qi is strong, that's gonna help eliminate those threats to the body. With so many different products on the market, one of the points that we want to get across is how Activate Chi is different. So we take a very different approach with our formulas. So while we are traditional Chinese medicine based, we use a combination of both Eastern and Western herbs because we want to target, of course, the root cause, which is our entire why, and those organ imbalances, while also providing relief to the symptoms that your horse or your dogs are seeing in sort of like a dual combination formula.
One example that we can give you is our product Relentless or Redemption. So a lot of the gut supplements on today's market are just adding ingredients to coat the stomach and relieve the pain of the stomach to allow it to heal. But actually, the first thing that we're going to ask you when our customers come to us is, for starters, what is your diet? We see a lot of people feeding processed foods with inflammatory ingredients, and we'll get more into that in another day, but that's a huge root cause of what you're consuming is what's going to throw off the balance of the digestive organs, but our products are going to help balance the digestive organs and also help coat the stomach, promote digestion, and alleviate the symptoms that we're seeing. It's not just going to coat the stomach.
Right, and so when you're seeing products that have a lot of those ingredients that are addressing the symptoms, if you've had a horse with ulcers, and then if you've read on it at all or been around someone that experiences it, a lot of what people deal with is that they're recurring. You hear a lot about recurring ulcers, and it's not necessarily that they're recurring, it's that they never are actually treated properly. So you see a lot of these ingredients that are in there to coat the stomach, and while they might provide a little relief, they're not addressing that root cause. So in every one of our formulas, we have the same theory. We approach it the same way regardless of what the illness is. We're just using different ingredients and obviously targeting different organs depending on what you're dealing with. So, and to another point of competitor products versus ours is our ingredients themselves. So we're using pharmaceutical grade herbs, but a big thing is we're not using heat, we're not using binders, all of these different things that are going to compromise the integrity of the herb. So that's a really important piece, is the quality itself of what we're using. One of the more important things to us when we started this and our mission is that our products are not intended to be used long term. These are not products that we're saying, you know, your horse or your dog has to stay on for the X amount of months or years or whatever it is. The goal is when you come to us and you have an issue, that we can give you as much information as we have as to what we believe is going on in the body, and then treat it from there. And that's also going to come with recommendations from us. If we see that you have a horse with, let's say, a really bad gut, and its diet is filled with ingredients that are causing more inflammation or more harm to the body, we're not going to tell you, here's buy X amount of bags of Relentless or Redemption, because we know that at the end you're going to still have a horse that's going to have issues. So the goal is to be able to provide everyone, our clients, with as much information as we can to get the body into a much healthier place. And a lot of that is starting with eliminating those threats. So the threats being a poor diet, and then using the product short term to get the body healthy again, get it back in balance. And then at the end you have a healthier horse or dog than when you came to us.
One of the other threats that we see, a lot of our cleanses are super important, as well as root causes that cause a lot of symptoms. So in particular, I had a horse that had very severe kidney issues, and your typical person would have thought, oh, you know, buy a kidney supplement, needing a kidney cleanse, but actually it ended up being heavy metal toxicity. So the kidneys were being overworked and overworked and overworked, and the vets were just telling me, this is kidney failure. And I was just like, this is not what it was. And from there, working with us, we can have those recommendations for you.
And there's just so many of those examples. So that hers was a kidney horse, where I had a horse that I had mentioned earlier in liver failure, and the recommendation was steroids, steroids, steroids. Not knowing, you know, at the time, I learned shortly after, thankfully, that wow, I was actually putting the liver under so much more stress than it already was. So I had stopped all of that, when really the liver there was toxins in it, and we needed to get them out. So that particular horse, I was sold 10 days worth of medication, because they said you're not going to have a horse in 10 days. That horse lived for 5 more years, until almost 30 years old. So that is our goal. The entire, our entire goal is to treat the root cause. What is your why? You know, we wanted to get to the bottom of our why. Why were we seeing these different concerns, and then doing the same thing for our customers, and at the end having a lot more education and a lot better of a situation than when you came.
I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about like joint supplements, for example, and balancing the kidneys. That's a huge role that comes in play, instead of just pumping your horse full of potential synthetic ingredients or inflammatory foods, which also play a role in affecting your horse with adding more inflammation to the body and the joints.
Yeah, so probably one of the biggest things, especially with performance horses, that we see are people, what is the next latest and greatest joint supplement? What is it? What people, you know, making all of these claims? And to understand the body, when you're pushing so many synthetic ingredients in there, the body is only absorbing so much anyways. So at the end, you know, this one is so much higher in this versus this. At the end of the day, there's still synthetic ingredients. So how the body processes those is going to be different anyways, or how it absorbs those. But again, it can only absorb so much. So you a lot of the times have a bag of very expensive pee, because it goes in and it's right back out. And again, we're not seeing, you know, these results, versus when we're treating the actual imbalances in the body, or we're addressing, you know, arthritis in a different way. We're addressing, you know, sore muscles. You know, it all comes when everything in the body is connected. So a lot of people don't even understand, like, the bones, you have your, you know, the sinews, the muscles, everything works together. So addressing those, the joint fluid, which we talked about earlier, and how that relates to, so you're back to your kidneys, and how that basically governs your joint fluid and keeping everything moving. So that's a big part of helping with joint inflammation. I mean, if you're dealing with soreness, we likely have some inflammation in there. So why? What's out of balance? Where's there stagnation? And so yeah, there's just a lot of examples, whether it be from gut to joints to anxiety. We do a lot of neurologic stuff that we deal with that doesn't need to be on these synthetic products or these long-term products. We just really try to get to the root of it and go from there.
A lot of products on the market to our competitors, adding the synthetic ingredients and vitamins, a lot of consumers think that, oh, I need to add all these vitamins and minerals, but actually what does it come down to? What is the quality of your hay? What is the quality of their forage? How does adding the synthetic vitamins and minerals benefit your horse or dog when their digestive system is not even working properly because of the inflammatory ingredients in foods that they're eating? So they're actually not even absorbing the nutrients either, and they're just being passed through the body.
Yeah, a big thing that we see, so a lot of different amino acid products that are on the market, where it comes down to, I've seen a lot of, well, this one is higher in this, okay, sure. So how do we know how much of that is being absorbed, first of all? So that's our first question. Second of all, what is not functioning properly in the body that you feel your horse is lacking in these amino acids?
Right, and when you're looking at the muscle function, why aren't the muscles functioning the way you want to? How are you going to support them instead of just throwing vitamins and minerals at them, hoping that they're functioning properly, or you're supporting them? What is something else that you could do? So we're going to approach that way differently, and your spleen is actually what governs the muscles, and the liver also plays a huge part in that too, with the liver blood nourishing the body. So those are the two main organs that we're going to address when it comes to muscle function and the forage. Those are all three things are going to be your key root causes when it comes to muscle function instead. As we continue to dive deeper into our products and explaining a little bit more about each individual product, we just want to invite you guys to follow along and learn more about Chinese medicine, and even reaching out to us, asking questions.
So a big thing that we want to do too is be able to talk about different health concerns that we see most commonly from our clients, and how we would address those, and then maybe what products that we would use as well. So we just want to be able to provide as much education on as far as TCM goes, as well as our formulas. So yeah, if you guys have any questions right now on formulas or other concerns that you're having, definitely feel free to reach out to us. Otherwise, we're gonna really kind of dive into this and be able to try to provide as much information as we can.